Leon Edwards against Jorge Masvidal is off. Obviously, they were due to throw down at UFC 269 in December, but Jorge Masvidal has pulled out due to an undisclosed injury. I'm here to talk about it, but before I do, my name's Rahul Jaychand. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I don't know where to start with this one, man. I really don't know where to start because I was so excited for this fight. I was so looking forward to this fight, and this fight is no more. Now, when I saw this news break on Twitter via Brett Okamoto, my initial reaction was to see how long is Jorge Masvidal actually out for? Is it possible for the UFC to reschedule this fight? So I was having a quick look on the interwebs to see if they've given a timeline for his recovery. I couldn't see anything, by the way, but as I was searching, it kind of dawned on me, it's kind of irrelevant how long Jorge Masvidal's out from Leon Edwards' point of view, because when this fight was made official, I saw an interview that Leon Edwards did with Ara Hawani on the MMA Hour, and he mentioned how the UFC originally wanted this fight to happen early next year, January or February of 2022, I believe, from memory. And Leon Edwards turned that down, and he said that the only way he's fighting Jorge Masvidal is if it happens this year, because he wants to fight close to the Kamaru Usman Covington fight, which obviously happened this weekend, just gone. Which is why the fight landed on the December card and then moved out the Moreno Figgy fight to next year, right? So which is, it kind of effectively took their slot. Now, it wouldn't make sense from Leon Edwards' point of view for him to sit for a couple of months and wait for Jorge Masvidal to recover, when he could potentially sit and wait and fight Kamaru Usman for the belt, right? Because he believes he has earned himself a title shot, and I personally believe that he's done the work to justify a title shot. So I'm in agreement with him there. So do you get what I'm trying to say? It wouldn't make any sense for him to fight Jorge Masvidal next year when he can just fight Kamaru Usman next year. But as with these things, how they usually play out when it comes to the UFC, if a fighter in a high profile fight drops out, a number of fighters raise their hands and say, I'll replace him. It turns into the Game of Thrones, and the names I've personally seen so far are Gilbert Burns, Belal Muhammad, and the elephant in the room, or should I say the wolf in the woods, Khamzat Chimaev. So Gilbert Burns, I personally don't know how interested the UFC would be in Leon Edwards fighting Gilbert Burns in December, just because Gilbert Burns has very recently lost to Kamaru Usman in a title fight, and the winner of this fight, if it is Gilbert Burns and Leon Edwards, because of where they're ranked and their kind of recent history in the division, the winner of a fight between the two of them would effectively be a #1 contender fight. And do they want Gilbert Burns? Is Gilbert Burns in another fight against Kamaru Usman so soon after his loss to Kamaru Usman? Is that a marketable fight for him? Would they want that? So would they give that slot to Gilbert Burns at short notice? Is it worth the risk? Aside from that, I believe Leon Edwards, and I'm not saying it's his choice, but he does have a say. I feel like Gilbert Burns, from Leon Edwards' point of view, would literally be the last choice, just given the fact that Leon Edwards has spent some time calling out Gilbert Burns on social media, and Gilbert Burns largely ignored it, and now the tables have turned where Leon Edwards is in a good position. Gilbert Burns is doing the same thing, and I believe, and actually Leon Edwards has actually said, I believe, in that very same interview, that he wouldn't want to fight Gilbert Burns. Belal Muhammad is actually in a different situation, because obviously he's not up there in the rankings, but these two men do have history, given how their first fight ended. Belal Muhammad was a late notice replacement for that original fight, and in his tweet he did say, last time I was given 2 weeks notice, this time I've got 4, basically implying he'd definitely be ready for it. Now, again, this fight really does nothing for Leon Edwards. I can't see him being interested in a rematch with Belal Muhammad. Again, he's been quite vocal about, I don't really see why I need to fight Belal Muhammad, right? And from the UFC's point of view, if Belal beats Leon Edwards, it doesn't necessarily put him in the title picture. It does raise him in the rankings, but do they want to risk a guy that they have as a viable contender for Kamaru Usman? And let's be honest, they're quite thin on viable options for the next contender for Kamaru Usman, just because he's basically beaten most of the guys that are in the top 5 of the rankings already. So I can't see the UFC wanting to pursue Belal Muhammad. Khamzat Chimaev is the one that's most interesting to me, because just a couple of weeks ago, Dana White was sat there in front of the press after Khamzat had so impressively beaten Li Jingyang, and he said, no, Khamzat needs a couple of fights against top 10 guys before he steps up. Fighting Leon Edwards is the highest step you can go before you challenge for the title, right? When Dana White was making those comments, it was to justify the fact that the UFC had offered Nate Diaz a fight against Khamzat Chimaev. And again, the Game of Thrones, when it comes to the UFC, they were playing their own game, because they want to give Nate Diaz the most difficult fight for his last fight on his contract to diminish his commercial value, his market value on the open market, right? So it would kind of be contradicting the statement that he made a couple of weeks ago about Khamzat needing a couple of more fights before he steps up, if they then slot him into this position against Leon Edwards. Now, having said that, there's always a way to justify your actions, right? So I'm pretty sure the UFC can justify putting Khamzat in that slot by saying something like, hey man, this kid's an animal, he just wants to fight, and we love giving opportunities to these kids, and you know, that kind of statement that he tends to make when someone jumps in at late notice, the kid's a beast. And also, like I said, there is history between these two, right? Because I think they were scheduled to fight each other twice, and they had to cancel it twice because both of them got COVID. So, you know, it's just revisiting a fight that was already previously booked. Now, let's remember the circumstances in which the original fight was booked, because Leon Edwards was sat there waiting for a title shot then. He was saying, no, I'm not fighting. I want a title shot. The UFC offered him Khamzat. He said no originally, I believe. And then the UFC removed him from the rankings for being inactive. Now, they can't remove him from the rankings at this point for being inactive because he's been active, right? And he has no bearing on Jorge Masvidal getting injured. So it all boils down to, what is the UFC's prerogative? What do they want? What do they want from this situation? Is their priority to have someone step in just so that the card remains, just so Leon Edwards remains on the card for the name value, for the pay-per-view sales? Is their prerogative having a real viable contender for Kamaru's title? So, you know, do we wait and just say, you know what, Leon, you deserve it, you've earned it, we've put up a couple of barriers previously, but you know what, here you go, look, this is your opportunity, you get a fight for the title? Or we know they're high on Khamzat. And Khamzat's rise as a star in the sport is undeniable. And if you're looking at the landscape of the welterweight division, Khamzat against Leon Edwards would 110% be a very, very big fight. It would get all the fans excited. Personally, I think that is a name I'd be most excited about fighting Leon Edwards come December, right? And if Khamzat was to win a fight between Khamzat against Kamaru next year, I can't think of a bigger fight in the welterweight division. I can't think of a bigger title fight. So it's interesting to see what the UFC, what they want from this situation, right? Having said that, Leon Edwards would be well within his rights to say to the UFC if they offer him Khamzat. Hold on a minute, I've been training for Jorge Masvidal, who's a striker, and now on 4 weeks' notice, you want me to fight this wrestler grappler? You know, so he'd be well within his rights to say, no, I'm not. I'm not prepared to be having such a drastic change in an opponent. I'm not fighting Khamzat. You know, so it's just a case of whether the UFC do want Khamzat to be the guy. Can they coerce? Coerce might be too much of a strong word. Can they convince Leon Edwards into taking that fight? Because I can't see why he would, right? But it's interesting, man. It's really, really interesting to see how this plays out. And finally, just quickly want to add, when this news did break, the first thing was about rescheduling, this fight being rescheduled. But the second thing that popped into my mind was Colby Covington's press conference after the fight at UFC 268, where he said if Jorge Masvidal had half a brain, and I'm paraphrasing here, he would drop out of the fight with Leon and he would fight me first quarter of next year, because that's a big fight. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that Jorge Masvidal has done what Colby Covington suggested. I'm not that cynical. But if I was, I would definitely be keeping an eye on this injury and what the recovery period is and who Jorge Masvidal ends up fighting next. Because I do have a very small portion of me that is a conspiracy theorist, and I will be keeping an eye on that whole situation to see how that plays out as well. But anyway, I wanted to make this a really quick, short, sharp video, and I feel like I've taken way longer than I actually wanted to take to talk about this. But I just want to leave you guys with one final thought. Now, if you're from England or the UK or from Europe for that matter, like, today I had a relatively good day. I had a decent day, and I was just winding down and I was getting into bed, and I thought to myself, I'm going to watch Narcos Mexico. I think I'm on episode 7 or 8 or something, and then go to sleep. And then I saw this news from Brett Okamoto, and my heart sank, and I was like, oh man. And it always happens, innit? Whenever a fight falls through, whenever someone gets injured or whatever, it's always around bedtime for me personally. And it's so annoying. It is so annoying. It just really ruins your mood before you go to sleep. It ruined it. It just ruins it. It's annoying. But anyway, man, I am genuinely interested to see how all of this plays out. But leave your thoughts below. Let me know what you think about some of this or anything that I've said in this video. Share your own opinions. And there's other names that I haven't mentioned. Vicente Luque. There's other names out there that could potentially step in. Let me know what you guys want to see happen. If you enjoy this video, please do comment, like, share, and definitely subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one.